The curse was made with strong bitterness and powerful dark magic. Undoing it will require time and sacrifice. I'll do anything, Neca said quickly. Please, Oma. I can't keep living like this. There are two parts to the curse, Oma explained. One locks your womb, and the other forces you to steal chickens. To break them both, we must first weaken Chisum's hold over your spirit. And for that, I need something personal from him, something he treasures deeply. Neca was the shining light of her parents' home. From the moment she was born, everyone in Umudim noticed there was something special about her. With her soft, glowing skin, bright, curious eyes, and calm nature, elders often stopped by her family's compound just to bless her. Chukwu gozi nwa, God bless this child, they would say. This child will marry into a great household. As Neca grew, so did her beauty and reputation. She was well-behaved, respectful, and had a gentle voice that made everyone around her feel at ease. Girls wanted to be her, and boys dreamed of marrying her. But Neca wasn't interested in any of them. At least, not yet. Everything changed the day she met Tochi, a wealthy and kind-hearted poultry farmer from Umunowachi, a village not too far from hers. He was tall, always well-dressed, and had a smile that made even the grumpiest elders laugh. But what made Tochi stand out was not his wealth or good looks. It was the way he treated people with humility and grace. When news broke that Tochi had chosen a bride from Umudim, his village Umunowachi was in shock. Many young women who had silently prayed to become his wife were heartbroken. "What does she have that we don't?" they whispered. "He left us for an outsider." But none of them knew the full story. Before meeting Tochi, Neca had been approached by another man named Chisum, who also came from Umunowachi. He was quiet and hard-working, and although he didn't have much, his heart was full of love for Neca. He worked on a small poultry farm and was saving up to build his future. He approached Neca with respect and courage, telling her how much he admired her and wanted her as his wife. But Neca refused him flatly. "I'm sorry, Chisum," she said, shaking her head. "I cannot marry a man who works with chickens. I hate everything about poultry farms. The smell alone makes me sick." Her words hit Chisum like a heavy stone in the chest. He was crushed, but he quietly walked away with tears in his eyes. 1 year later, Neca found herself in love with another man, a man who turned out to be none other than Chisum's elder brother, Tochi. But this time, she didn't care that he was a poultry farmer. Why? Because Tochi's farm was grand and clean, unlike anything she had ever seen. His home was a beautiful bungalow with well-kept flowers and a tiled compound. He treated her like a queen, and Neca felt lucky. She had no idea that Tochi and Chisum were brothers. When Chisum found out, he was filled with silent rage. The woman who mocked him and laughed at his job had now married his elder brother and was living the life he had once dreamed of building with her. But Chisum didn't cry this time. He plotted. One night, under the cover of darkness, he visited a feared native priest who lived deep in the forest. The priest's hut was surrounded by red cloth, bones, and symbols that sent chills down Chisum's spine. But he didn't turn back. "What do you want?" the priest asked, his voice cold. "I want to punish a woman," Chisum said. "I want her to suffer the same way she made me suffer." The priest stared into Chisum's eyes, then into the fire beside him. "Tell me what to do," Chisum said with a bitter voice. "Bind her womb. Let her never bear a child, and let her have an urge, something shameful. Let her steal chickens. Let her become what she once laughed at." The priest raised his hand and nodded slowly. "It shall be done." And it was. 4 months after Neca and Tochi's wedding, strange things began to happen. Neca started bringing home chickens she swore she had no memory of taking. At first, Tochi thought someone had gifted her birds, but when neighbors began to complain, the truth became clear. She was stealing chickens, at night, in secret. And the strangest part? She never touched a single chicken from Tochi's large poultry farm. Only other people's birds attracted her. Tochi, confused and heartbroken, didn't understand what was happening. But his love for his wife never changed. Each time someone reported her, he would visit them quietly and pay for the bird, giving them 5 of his own in return. "Please forgive my wife," he would say. "She is not herself." The villagers couldn't stop talking. Neca the thief, they called her. The chicken wife. People laughed behind her back. Some even followed her at night to see if the stories were true. And each time, she proved them right. Yet Neca didn't understand why it was happening. She was sure she wasn't in control. It was as though something came over her, like her mind left her body, and she was driven by a strange force. Ashamed and broken, she stopped going to village meetings. She stopped walking freely in the market. Even her smile disappeared. The only place she found comfort was at the riverbank. Every evening, she would sit on a rock near the water, crying quietly, hoping for peace, hoping for healing. She spoke to the river like it was her only friend. "If anyone is listening," she whispered one evening, "please help me. I don't want to be this person." Little did she know, someone had been watching her from beneath the river. A young being, a princess, and her name was about to change everything. Far beneath the surface of the Ioma River, where the water ran deep and clear, there existed a magical kingdom, invisible to the human eye. It was a place of glowing coral walls, shining pearl towers, and creatures that spoke with music in their voices. This was Ulomiri, the Mermaid Kingdom, ruled by the wise and powerful Queen Iselina. Among all the beauty and wonders of Ulomiri, there was one who stood out, Princess Amarachi, the only child of Queen Iselina. She was not only a mermaid, but also the heir to the underwater throne. With long black hair like flowing silk, glittering scales of turquoise and gold, and eyes that glowed like morning stars, Amarachi was loved by all. But Amarachi had a restless spirit. She wasn't like the other mermaids who enjoyed palace life and followed rules. Amarachi was curious, bold, and always wanted to know more about the world beyond the river. Her favorite thing to do was escape from the kingdom without permission and watch humans from the riverbank. She found them strange, yet beautiful. What makes them laugh? What makes them cry? She would ask her special maid and closest friend Ziora, a soft-spoken mermaid with sea-green eyes. "Why do you always care about humans?" Ziora would ask. "You know our law. We must never interfere in the affairs of humans." But Amarachi was not one to follow laws that didn't make sense to her. She wanted to understand the human heart, especially the pain they felt. There was one human in particular that kept her attention. Every day, the princess swam up silently to the edge of the river and waited behind the thick grasses. And every day, the same woman came, tall, beautiful, and full of sorrow. The woman was always alone. She would sit on a flat rock and cry quietly for hours, her face in her hands, tears falling into the water like little drops of sadness. Sometimes, she spoke to the river. Other times, she just wept. Her name, Amarachi later discovered, was Neca. "She's cursed," Ziora whispered one day when Amarachi pointed her out. "The villagers call her the chicken thief." "But why?" Amarachi asked. "They say she steals people's chickens at night, even though her husband owns the biggest poultry farm in the land." Amarachi blinked. "That doesn't make sense. Why would someone steal what they already have? Exactly, Ziora replied. That's why many believe it's a spiritual problem. Amarachi's heart burned with curiosity, and then with anger. She had never seen anyone so broken before. She had never seen a human cry with so much pain. I want to help her, Amarachi said. Ziora's eyes widened. You mustn't, princess. You know what the queen would do if she found out. Helping a human is forbidden. Amarachi turned away. Then don't tell her. Please, Amarachi, don't do this, Ziora pleaded. But the young mermaid princess had already made up her mind. That night, while the Sea Kingdom slept, Amarachi swam far into the dark side of the river and made her way to the cave of Onwunali, the old water witch feared by all. Onwunali lived in a chamber of black stones, her voice rough like thunder, her eyes blind, but full of power. I know why you're here, child, Onwunali said, before Amarachi even spoke. You want to save the human woman? Yes, Amarachi answered boldly. But the cost will be high, the witch warned. You must give up something dear to you. If you want to live among humans, you cannot return to the water. You must never touch salt water again, or your legs will vanish and you will die. I understand, Amarachi said. Then make your sacrifice. Amarachi closed her eyes and whispered, I offer half of my immortal life and my crown as princess. A glowing light filled the cave. Her tail vanished. Her scales fell off like flower petals. Her voice changed. And in just a few moments, Amarachi became a human girl. A 6-year-old homeless child in appearance, with no sign of her royal birth. She was reborn, and she named herself Oma. The next morning, Neca walked slowly toward the river, her eyes tired, her steps heavy. The night before had been another shameful one. She had woken up holding a stolen chicken, not even knowing where she had gone to take it. She was losing her mind. I will end this pain today, she whispered. I will throw myself into this river, let the water carry away my disgrace. But just as she stepped onto her favorite rock, she saw something, a child. A naked little girl lay near the water, her skin glowing like light. Her long black hair was soaked, and her tiny fingers curled like she had just fallen asleep. Neca froze. Who left a child by the river? She rushed forward, her heart pounding. Is she alive? The girl looked peaceful, but cold. Her lips were pale. Neca touched her forehead gently, and the girl's necklace, a beautiful glowing pendant, flashed a bright blue light. Suddenly, the little girl opened her eyes, crystal blue eyes that sparkled like the sea. You came, Oma said with a soft smile. Neca gasped. You can talk? I was waiting for you, Oma said. I came because of you. Neca's legs weakened. She dropped to the ground, staring in confusion and fear. Are you a spirit? No, Oma replied sweetly. I'm your helper. Neca could not believe her ears. But deep down, her heart stirred. Something about this girl felt divine. She wasn't ordinary. And somehow, she brought peace. And that was the beginning of something powerful. Neca sat frozen beside the glowing child, unable to speak, unable to move. Her mind was spinning. The river breeze whispered softly through the reeds, yet all she could hear was the pounding of her heart. The child, this strange, beautiful girl, had just told her she came because of her. That made no sense. You came? For me? Neca finally asked, her voice shaking. Oma nodded, brushing a strand of her wet hair from her small face. Yes, Auntie Neca. I've been watching you cry here every day. I wanted to help. Neca's eyes widened. You know my name? The little girl smiled gently. I know a lot about you. Everything about her felt otherworldly. Her glowing pendant, her calm voice, and her eyes that looked like they carried the weight of 1,000 years. She didn't speak like a child. Her words were clear and wise, almost too wise for someone who appeared to be just 6 years old. Neca's voice trembled again. Where are your parents? Oma looked away, her smile fading slightly. They're not here. I came alone. You came alone? From where? Neca asked. There was a long pause before Oma answered. I came from a place deep under the river, but I can't go back there anymore. The moment she said it, Neca stood up abruptly, panic rising in her chest. What are you saying? Are you a spirit? A water child? A Mami Wata? Oma looked up at her, unbothered. No, I'm not a spirit. I'm not here to harm you. Neca took a few steps back. But you just said you came from under the river. Who says such things? I had to give up a lot to come here. I gave up my family, my home, just to help you. Neca stared at her, confused, frightened, and overwhelmed. She didn't know whether to run or stay. But despite her fear, she couldn't ignore the way her heart softened around this girl. There was something peaceful about Oma, something comforting. It felt like standing near warm sunlight after days of cold rain. She looked down at the girl's body again, wet, trembling slightly, and still completely unclothed. Wait here, Neca said finally. I'll get you something to wear. She ran back home, her mind racing. Within minutes, she returned with a small wrapper and one of Tochi's oversized t-shirts. She wrapped Oma carefully and sat beside her again. I don't understand you, Neca whispered. Why would you leave your world for me? I'm not anyone important. Oma smiled. You're important to someone. That's enough. Silence followed, broken only by the soft rush of the river. Neca wiped her tears and looked at Oma again. I'm cursed, she confessed. Every night, something takes over me. I go into people's yards and steal chickens. I don't remember doing it, but I always wake up with a chicken beside me. I know, Oma said gently. That's why I came. You know? Neca blinked. You know what's wrong with me? Oma nodded. Yes, you were cursed by someone who once loved you and then turned bitter when you didn't love him back. A cold wind passed over Neca's body as the truth struck her like lightning. Chisum. Yes, Oma whispered. He didn't just hate that you rejected him. He hated that you married his elder brother, Tochi. Neca broke down again, the pain too much to hold in. I didn't mean to hurt him. I just didn't love him. He wasn't bad, but I didn't want him. And you didn't know Tochi was his brother, Oma said calmly. No, I didn't, Neca said between sobs. How could I have known? They don't look alike. They weren't close. I believe you, Oma said. But Chisum's heart was too full of pain. Instead of healing, he chose revenge. Neca looked at her. Can it be reversed? Can you help me? Oma's face became serious. I can try, but it won't be easy. The curse was made with strong bitterness and powerful dark magic. Undoing it will require time and sacrifice. I'll do anything, Neca said quickly. Please, Oma. I can't keep living like this. There are 2 parts to the curse, Oma explained. One locks your womb, and the other forces you to steal chickens. To break them both, we must first weaken Chisum's hold over your spirit. And for that, I need something personal from him, something he treasures deeply. Neca wiped her face and nodded slowly. I'll find something. I'll try. Good, Oma said, standing up carefully on her little legs. She still stumbled a bit, unused to walking. Now, can I come home with you? Neca looked at her, this strange child who had given up everything to help her, and her heart swelled with emotion. "Yes," she said, "you can stay with me." As they walked back together toward the house, Neca held Oma's tiny hand tightly. The warmth of that hand gave her a new kind of strength, one she hadn't felt in a long time. They entered the compound just as the sun was beginning to set. Tochi had not yet returned. Neca quickly sneaked Oma inside and gave her a warm bath. She dressed her in cleaner clothes, served her some rice, and watched as the child ate slowly with grace and quiet joy. "I'll tell my husband you're a lost child I found by the river," Neca said. Oma nodded. "That's fine, but I'll keep my secret safe. I don't want him to worry." That night, after Oma fell asleep peacefully, Neca sat at the edge of the bed, watching the little girl's chest rise and fall. "Who are you really?" she whispered to herself. "And why does it feel like God sent you just for me?" She didn't know it yet, but her life had just started to change forever. Somewhere deep in the shadows of Umunoachi, Chisum sat in his small room, staring at a carved wooden flute his late father gave him. His eyes were cold. His heart remained bitter. He had no idea that the curse he placed long ago had now attracted a force greater than he could ever imagine. The battle for Neca's freedom had just begun. The early morning breeze swept gently through Umunoachi, carrying the sweet smell of blooming ojirisi trees and the soft clucking of chickens waking in the distance. Inside their modest yet beautiful bungalow, Neca was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the tiny figure still sleeping beside her. Oma, the mysterious girl from the river, had slept so peacefully, curled up like a kitten. Her tiny hands rested under her cheek, and her glowing pendant peeked out slightly from beneath the oversized shirt she wore. Even in sleep, she looked like something from a dream, delicate, calm, and oddly powerful. Neca sighed. "How is a small child like you carrying such a heavy mission?" Just then, Oma stirred. Her eyelids fluttered open, revealing those piercing blue eyes. She smiled sleepily at Neca. "Good morning, Auntie." "Good morning, my little angel," Neca replied softly, brushing hair from Oma's forehead. "How did you sleep?" "Very well," Oma said with a yawn. "This bed is warmer than the rocks at the riverbank." Neca smiled faintly. "You deserve warmth, Oma." At that moment, the front gate creaked open. Tochi's car horn sounded once. He was back from the farm. Neca jumped to her feet. "Stay here. Don't come out until I call you." She hurried to the sitting room just as Tochi stepped inside, sweaty from work, but smiling with his usual calm charm. "My sunshine," he greeted, dropping a crate of eggs by the door. "Did you sleep well?" "I did," Neca replied quickly, walking up to him. "But something happened. Something I need to tell you." Tochi's face changed. "What is it? Are you okay?" "I found a little girl by the river yesterday," she said. "She was alone, naked, and weak. She said she had no home. I brought her here." Tochi blinked in surprise. "You found a child?" "Yes. She calls herself Oma. She looks about 6. I couldn't leave her there, Tochi. She was all alone." Tochi scratched his head, concern settling on his face. "Are you sure she's not a missing child from another village?" "She didn't mention any family. I was thinking maybe we could keep her here for now, just until we find out where she belongs." Tochi nodded slowly. "Okay. Let me see her." Neca went to the room and returned with Oma, now holding her hand gently. The moment Tochi saw her, his eyes softened. The girl's eyes sparkled, and her smile was pure and innocent. "Good morning, sir," Oma said politely, bowing her head. Tochi knelt to her level and smiled. "Good morning, my dear. So you're the river princess, eh?" Oma giggled. "I guess I am." Tochi glanced at Neca. She's adorable. She can stay, at least for now. Thank you, Neca whispered, relief flooding her. But deep inside, she knew they couldn't keep hiding the truth. Sooner or later, Tochi would find out that Oma was not just any child. She had come with a mission, a dangerous one. Later that day, while Tochi left for the poultry farm again, Neca and Oma sat in the backyard, under the orange tree. Birds chirped in the trees, and a gentle wind blew across the compound. I need to get something that belongs to Chisum, Neca said, looking straight ahead. Something personal? But how do I even approach him? Oma tilted her head. Does he live far from here? No, Neca replied. Just a few compounds away. He lives with his wife, Chinaza. They don't have children either. There's a reason for that, Oma said quietly. When Chisum cursed you, the dark energy also affected his household. His hatred backfired. Neca's eyes widened. So the curse is hurting him too? Yes, Oma nodded. But he doesn't know it yet. Neca shook her head. This is deeper than I thought. So, what item can break the curse? Something he treasures. A piece of him that holds strong emotion. His late father's flute, for example. Neca stared. How did you know about the flute? Oma smiled. Because I've seen it in my visions. He plays it sometimes at night, sitting by the window. Neca clenched her hands. I'll find a way to get it. Meanwhile, at Chisum's house, Chisum sat at the edge of his bamboo bed, polishing the old wooden flute in his hands. It was a gift from his father, a man who had loved music and always played gentle melodies in the evening breeze. The flute was his most treasured memory. His wife, Chinaza, walked in with a bowl of water. You're playing that flute again. Chisum said nothing. Chinaza frowned. Chisum, what exactly is wrong with us? Why is it that since we married, nothing has gone well? No child, no progress, just pain. Maybe we're cursed, Chisum said flatly, staring at the flute. Chinaza dropped the bowl. Cursed? What kind of nonsense talk is that? Chisum looked at her, his eyes empty. Some things done in anger, they never truly end. He stood and walked out of the house without another word. Back at Neca's house, Oma stood at the window, her eyes glowing faintly as she watched the sky change from golden to deep orange. She felt something, a shift. Neca, she said quietly, he's thinking about the past. Chisum? Yes. The curse is weakening slightly because his heart is confused. That's our chance. You must act soon. Neca stood and nodded. I'll go tonight. I know the window he keeps open. If I can get the flute? Oma held her hand. Be careful. He's not just a man. His bitterness still gives him spiritual power. That night, under the cover of darkness, Neca tied a wrapper around her waist and crept out of the compound. With careful, quiet steps, she moved through the moonlit path until she reached Chisum's home. She paused at the back window, slightly open, just as she remembered. Peeking inside, she saw the flute lying on the low stool by his bed. Chisum was not in the room. Heart pounding, she reached inside slowly. Her fingers touched the flute. Suddenly, a deep voice echoed behind her. What do you think you're doing? Neca froze. Chisum stood in the dark, holding a lantern. His eyes glowed with suspicion. What are you doing outside my window? He repeated. Neca turned, trembling. I was just... Chisum stepped forward, narrowing his eyes. You're stealing now from my house too? Neca felt her throat close up. Chisum, please, But she didn't finish. The flute, still in her hand, flashed with a strange light. Chisum stepped back, confused. And in that moment of surprise, Neca turned and ran. She ran faster than she had ever run in her life, clutching the flute to her chest. her breath sharp and ragged. She didn't stop until she reached home. Oma was waiting by the door. She smiled the moment she saw the flute. "Well done," she whispered. "The battle has truly begun." The night wind howled softly through the open windows as Neca and Oma sat in the center of the small sitting room, the only light in the house coming from a flickering oil lamp on the table. The air felt thick, not just with heat, but with the strange, mysterious energy surrounding the wooden flute Neca had risked everything to retrieve. It now lay between them on a white piece of cloth, glowing faintly, as though it knew it had been taken for a higher purpose. Oma placed her small hand near it, without touching. "You did well, Auntie Neca," she said in her calm voice. "Getting this flute was not just an act of bravery. It was the first step toward your freedom." Neca still breathed heavily, her nerves frayed from the encounter with Chisum. "He almost caught me. He saw me. But something strange happened. The flute, it glowed. It scared him for a moment." Oma nodded. "That's because the flute holds his father's spirit. It doesn't want to be used for evil. When you touched it with a pure heart, it responded to your pain." Neca blinked. "Are you saying the spirit of his father is inside the flute?" "Not his full spirit," Oma replied, "but a strong part of his love, his memories, and his power. The flute remembers peace. It remembers music. It remembers joy. That's why it cannot be used to trap someone like you." Neca stared at the object on the cloth. It looked so simple. Smooth wood, slightly worn from use, with carvings of symbols, and a small eagle etched near the tip. But it had caused such a shift in the atmosphere that even Neca, who had seen strange things recently, was both afraid and in awe. "So, what happens now?" she asked. "We must perform a cleansing ritual," Oma said. "Something sacred. But we need one more thing." Neca's face fell. "Another item?" "Yes. We need a feather from the cursed bird you last stole." Neca's hands flew to her mouth. "That chicken? It's still in the backyard." They both stood up and rushed to the back of the house. The chicken coop was quiet. One bird, a reddish hen with golden streaks on its neck, stood in a corner, away from the others. Its eyes were unusual, bright and watchful, almost human-like in expression. "That's the one," Neca whispered. "I found it under my bed 2 nights ago. I still don't know how it got there." Oma walked closer. The chicken didn't run. It stared at her as if it understood why she was there. Carefully, Oma plucked a single feather from its back. The hen didn't squawk. It simply turned and went back to the corner, its mission, perhaps, complete. Back inside, Oma laid the feather beside the flute. Then she reached into the neckline of her shirt and pulled out her pendant, the crystal one that had glowed blue when Neca first found her. She placed it beside the other items, forming a small triangle. "Now we wait for the right moment," she said. "At midnight, the energy will be at its weakest. That's when we will begin." Midnight came slowly. As the final hour arrived, the village of Umonoachi was sound asleep. Only the sound of crickets and distant owls echoed in the stillness. But inside Neca's home, something powerful was awakening. Oma stood barefoot on the floor, her hands raised, her eyes closed. Neca knelt beside her, watching in silence. "O great spirits of healing," Oma whispered, her voice deeper than before, almost as though someone else were speaking through her. "We bring before you the token of peace, the curse of hatred, and the plea of the broken." The room darkened. The oil lamp flickered violently, then steadied. The flute began to hum softly. Neca gasped as a warm breeze circled the room, yet no windows were open. Suddenly, the pendant glowed bright blue, and a soft tune began to play, not from the flute being blown, but from within it, like a song remembered by the wood itself. a song of an old father's love. Neca could hear voices in the melody, laughter, childhood, a man singing to his sons. It felt so real, so close. Tears filled her eyes. Oma opened her mouth, and this time, her voice changed entirely. She spoke in a language Neca had never heard before, deep, musical, ancient. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The lamp went out. Silence, darkness. Then the pendant flashed once, and the flute burst into golden light, rising into the air, spinning slowly before settling back on the cloth. It was done. Oma collapsed. Neca screamed and rushed to her, gathering her in her arms. Oma! Oma! Please wake up! The girl didn't move for a few seconds, and then, slowly, her eyelids fluttered open. Her face was pale, but her lips curved into a small smile. It's broken, she whispered. The curse. It's gone. Neca burst into tears, holding her tightly. Are you sure? Yes, Oma replied weakly. You won't steal again. And soon, your womb will open. Neca held her close. Oma, thank you. Thank you. I don't even have words. You don't need to thank me, Oma said, closing her eyes again. You needed help, and I had the power to give it. Just then, Tochi opened the door. He had returned unexpectedly, worried after having a strange dream about Neca. He saw them in the dim glow of the moon, his wife crying, holding a little girl, and strange objects glowing on the table. What is going on here? He asked, his voice tense. Neca looked up, wiping her tears. Tochi, I'll tell you everything. And for the first time, she did. She told him everything, from the curse, to the river, to Oma's arrival. She told him how Chisum had cursed her, and how this small, powerful girl had risked everything to help them. Tochi was speechless. He sat down, running a hand through his hair. I always knew something was wrong, he said at last, but I didn't know it was this deep. He turned to Oma. Who are you, really? Oma sat up slowly. Someone who cares. Tochi knelt and hugged them both. Whoever you are, thank you. But even as peace returned to their home, danger brewed elsewhere. At that same moment, Chisum sat in his room, staring at the empty stool where his flute used to be. He could feel it. Something had changed. He felt a weight lift from his chest, and a cold emptiness replace it. They broke it, he whispered. Then his face twisted in anger. This is not over. The morning sun rose slowly over Umunoachi, casting golden rays through the windows of Tochi and Neca's home. Birds chirped loudly in the mango trees, and the scent of fried plantains drifted through the air from nearby compounds. But inside their house, silence reigned, peaceful, soft, and still, like a calm after a long storm. Neca stood quietly in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. For the first time in months, her eyes did not carry shame. There were no fresh tears, no bags beneath them, no pain etched deep into her cheeks. She touched her stomach gently, her heart hopeful. Oma had said her womb would open soon. She smiled. In the sitting room, Oma sat cross-legged on the tiled floor, sipping warm pap from a cup and humming a quiet tune to herself. She looked more rested than ever, and even Tochi, who now watched her with admiration, had grown fond of her, calling her, "Our little gift." Tochi entered the room with a smile. "Oma, do you want more pap?" "No, thank you, sir," she said sweetly, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. "Neca!" Tochi called out. "Come and see your daughter, oh! She has cleared the cup like a true village champion." Neca emerged from the room, laughing softly. "She's strong for her size. You'd think she was raised on pounded yam." Tochi chuckled, then leaned closer to Neca. "How are you feeling?" She nodded. "Lighter, brighter. I slept well, and the dreams are gone." Tochi reached for her hand. That's all I've ever wanted, for you to be free. Neca glanced at Oma, who smiled up at them. She made it possible. This little angel saved us. Oma's face turned serious. We're not completely safe yet. Tochi and Neca turned to her. What do you mean? Neca asked carefully. Oma stood slowly, brushing dust from her wrapper. The curse may be broken, but the one who created it is still burning with anger. He will try something again. And this time, it may not be you he targets. Tochi's jaw tightened. Chisum? Oma nodded. He felt the moment the curse broke. He lost his connection to your household. That void will feed his bitterness. It may even drive him to do something worse. Tochi rose from his chair. I won't let him harm you or Neca. I swear it. But we must be wise, Oma said gently. Revenge lives in darkness. It strikes when we're at peace. That afternoon, a visitor came to their gate. It was Chinaza, Chisum's wife. She wore a loose green blouse and tied a faded wrapper around her waist. Her face was tired, her eyes worried. She didn't even wait to be invited in. She opened the gate and rushed into the compound. Neca, please, I need to speak with you. Neca stepped outside quickly. Chinaza, what is it? The woman burst into tears. Please, forgive me. I didn't know things had gone this far. My husband, he's changing. He hasn't eaten since yesterday. He talks to himself. Last night, he poured red oil all over the floor and kept drawing circles with chalk. Tochi stepped outside, frowning. What exactly are you saying? He's trying something evil, Chinaza sobbed. He keeps whispering your names. He says someone stole his future. He thinks you sent a spirit to torment him. Please, I don't know what to do anymore. Oma stepped forward slowly, her voice calm. He's sinking deeper into darkness. His curse backfired, and now it's swallowing him. The only thing keeping him from total destruction is that flute. But it has been purified. Now he is exposed. Chinaza stared at Oma, confused. Who is this child? Neca stepped beside her. Someone who was sent to save us. Chinaza looked at Oma again and then back at Neca. Please, if there's anything we can do to stop him, anything, you must do it fast. I'm scared he might hurt someone. Or himself. Tochi nodded firmly. I'll speak with the elders. Chisum has gone too far. That evening a village meeting was called. The elders of Motivational gathered under the large mango tree in the center of the village square. The oldest of them, Elder Uba, cleared his throat after hearing everything from Tochi. So, your brother cursed your wife because she rejected him? He asked in disbelief. Tochi nodded. Yes, and now he's planning something worse. Another elder, Uncle Agu, shook his head. This is beyond family quarrel. This is wickedness. Elder Uba stood. We must summon him. Let him defend himself before the elders tomorrow. If he refuses, we will know what to do. Meanwhile, that night, Chisum sat alone in his dark room, surrounded by candles and markings on the ground. His eyes were bloodshot. His hands shook. The flute was gone, and without it, his mind was unraveling. They stole my peace, he whispered. Then suddenly, something moved behind him. He turned. A shadow stood in the corner, tall, dark, and silent. You called me, it said. Chisum's voice trembled. Yes, I want her gone. I want them gone. All of them. The shadow stepped closer. But your power is fading. Then give me new power, Chisum cried. I'll give anything. The shadow smiled. Anything? Chisum hesitated, then nodded. Yes. The air grew cold. A deal had been made. Back at Neca's house, Oma jolted upright from her sleep. Her eyes glowed faintly. It has begun, she whispered. Neca rushed in. What is it? Oma stood quickly. He has called on a dark spirit. Something worse than a curse. Something that feeds on blood. Neca gasped. What do we do now? Oma took her hand. Now. We prepare for the real war. That night, an eerie silence fell upon Umunoachi. Even the usual sounds of chirping crickets and croaking frogs were absent. It was as if nature itself was holding its breath. In the heart of the village, inside Tochi's compound, Neca couldn't sleep. She lay on the bed beside Oma, listening to every sound, her heart pounding with unease. Oma, who had been sleeping peacefully just hours ago, was now alert. Her pendant glowed faintly on the stool beside her. She sat upright, her small body stiff, her eyes locked on the window. Auntie Neca, she said in a hushed voice. Don't panic, but something is coming. Neca sat up instantly. What is it? He sent a spirit, Oma replied calmly. It moves like smoke. It comes in silence, and it feeds on fear. Neca's eyes widened. What should we do? Don't run. Don't scream. Just stay by me, Oma said as she stepped down from the bed. She walked barefoot to the center of the room, picked up her pendant, and stood still, eyes closed, lips moving in quiet chants. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind burst through the room. The window flew open. The oil lamp flickered violently. The curtain danced wildly as an unseen force entered. Then came a strange sound, like a whisper of many voices layered together. Neca grabbed the wall for support. Her knees weakened, but she stayed silent, just as Oma had said. And then it appeared. A figure, tall and cloaked in darkness, began to form in the center of the room. It had no face, just a swirling void where a face should be. Its hands were long and thin, like dry branches, and it moved without sound, floating slightly above the floor. Neca covered her mouth to keep from screaming. The creature reached toward her, but Oma stepped in front of it. No, she said in a loud, clear voice. The spirit stopped. You cannot touch her. Your bond has been broken. The curse is gone. The creature let out a shriek that made the walls tremble. It turned to Oma. You do not belong here, it hissed. You are of the deep. I gave up my right to return, Oma said firmly. I live here now, and I protect her. The creature raised a bony arm. Shadows swirled around it like a storm. Oma gripped her pendant tightly. It burst into bright blue light, blinding and strong. The spirit screamed and began to retreat, the light burning through its dark form like fire. It tried to strike, but Oma's light pushed it back with every chant she made. Return to the dark, she cried. You were not summoned in truth, and your power has no place here. With one final burst of light, the spirit exploded into a cloud of black smoke and vanished. Silence returned. Neca collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, tears in her eyes. Oma? What just happened? Oma turned slowly, her face pale. That was an Nkirionwu, a spirit of hatred. Chisum called it from the dark forest beyond the river. He sent it to finish what the curse could not. Neca crawled to her and hugged her tightly. You protected me. You saved me again. Oma nodded, but her hands trembled. But it will try again. He won't stop until he destroys everything, unless we stop him first. The next day, the village buzzed with news of the strange wind and shadowy presence several households claimed to have felt overnight. Some said their doors rattled. Others swore their fires went out on their own, but the elders knew better. Tochi stood before them, fists clenched. My wife was attacked last night. A spirit entered my home. The elders muttered among themselves. Elder Uba raised a hand. This is no longer a family matter. It is now a threat to our community. We must act before Chisum's darkness spreads, said Uncle Agu. We must summon the chief priest. The decision was unanimous. That evening, The villagers gathered at the village square. Torches were lit. Drums were silent. The air felt heavy as Dibia Nwachinemir, the village chief priest, arrived. He wore red chalk marks across his face and carried a staff of carved wood and cowries. He raised his voice, deep and commanding. "Chisum of Umunowachi," he called. "Come before the gods and answer for your deeds." Chisum, who had been forced to the gathering by his trembling wife and two of the elders, stepped forward slowly. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked older, weaker. "You were warned," the priest said, "but you let envy drive you to evil." Chisum remained silent. "You cursed your brother's wife. You called on forbidden spirits. You disrupted the peace of this land." Still, Chisum said nothing. Then the priest turned to Oma, who stood beside Neca in the crowd. "You, child, you do not belong here. Who are you?" Oma stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly. "I am Oma, daughter of the waters. I came to save a soul wrongly bound. I came to correct a curse." The crowd gasped. "A mermaid child?" The priest looked at her long and hard. Then, to everyone's surprise, he dropped to one knee. "The water spirit sent you?" "They did not," Oma replied. "I chose to come. I gave up my throne. I gave up my power. I gave up half of my immortal life, all for her." The crowd was silent. Even the leaves stopped rustling. Neca wept softly. Tochi held her hand. The priest rose. "Then your sacrifice shall not be in vain." He turned back to Chisum. "You must confess," the priest said, "or your soul will be lost." Chisum finally looked up. His voice cracked. "I loved her, and she didn't choose me. I couldn't bear it. I was the one who deserved her. But Tochi, he took her." "She was never yours," the priest said gently. Chisum fell to his knees. "I am sorry." The priest raised his staff and began to chant. The villagers joined in with quiet hums. A wind blew softly through the crowd. Then, as the chant grew louder, a spark of light burst from Oma's pendant and entered Chisum's chest. He gasped. His body shook, and then stilled. The darkness in him faded. He broke down in tears. And just like that, peace returned to Umunowachi. Later that night, Oma sat quietly outside, watching the stars. Neca joined her, wrapping a shawl around the girl's shoulders. "You've done it," Neca whispered. "You saved us all." Oma looked up, a sad smile on her lips. "My time is almost over." "What do you mean?" Neca asked, alarmed. "My mission is complete," Oma said gently. "Soon I will fade. That was the price." "No," Neca said firmly, tears forming in her eyes. "There must be another way. You can stay with us. Be our daughter." But Oma just reached for her hand. "You already gave me something better than a throne. Love." The following morning arrived with a golden hush across the village of Umunowachi. The sky was clear. The birds sang with joy, and even the trees seemed to sway gently in gratitude. Peace had returned. The darkness that had once loomed heavy over the village was now gone, swept away by light, love, and the brave sacrifice of one little girl named Oma. But inside Tochi's household, joy sat beside sorrow. Neca moved slowly around the kitchen, her heart heavy, even as her hands stirred the pot of soup on the fire. She glanced toward the room where Oma now lay, too weak to rise. Her face was peaceful, her smile gentle, but her strength was fading, like the last light of a setting sun. Tochi entered the kitchen, noticing his wife's silence. "She hasn't eaten since yesterday," he said, rubbing her shoulder softly. Neca nodded, her eyes watery. "She says she's not hungry. She just lies there, smiling, watching the sky. Tochi, I'm scared." He pulled her into a quiet embrace. "You're not alone in this. Whatever happens, we will face it together." She gave everything for me, Neca whispered against his chest. How do I thank a child who gave up her life just to save mine? Tochi didn't have an answer. In the bedroom, Oma lay on the small bed, staring out of the window. Her once glowing pendant now looked dim, like a fading star. Her long black hair framed her small face, and her once bright eyes now held a softness that seemed more from another world than this one. Ziora, the soft-spoken mermaid maid from the Water Kingdom, had appeared at her side the night before. She sat by the bed, her form visible only to Oma. She looked sad, her hands holding Oma's. Must you really go? Ziora asked. Oma smiled faintly. The deal was made. Half of my immortal life was the price. I have done what I came to do. But they love you, Ziora whispered. They will never be the same without you. I will never be the same without them either, Oma replied. Ziora looked away, blinking tears. You are the bravest princess the river has ever known. I'm no longer a princess, Oma whispered. Just a girl who wanted to help. That evening, as the sun began to fall behind the hills, the villagers gathered once more in the village square, not for a meeting, but for a celebration. Word had spread of Oma's bravery, her sacrifice, and the peace she had brought. The women danced. The men beat their drums gently. The children sang songs of thanks. But Oma could not join them. She was too weak to walk. So they brought the celebration to her. The elders came first, each one bowing to her where she lay, offering blessings, gifts, and prayers. Then came Chinaza, Chisum's wife, with tears in her eyes. My husband is healing, she said. His mind is clearing. His spirit is light again. Thank you, my child. Oma smiled. Please take care of him. He was never evil, just broken. Chinaza nodded through her tears. And then Chisum came. He walked slowly, his hands trembling, his face full of shame. When he saw Oma, he dropped to his knees. I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said softly, but I beg for it anyway. Oma looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his hand. Hurt people hurt others. But when they choose healing, they stop the cycle. Chisum broke down. I am so sorry for everything, he cried. I forgive you, Oma whispered. And with those words, something invisible lifted from the air, like the last thread of a torn curse finally disappearing. Later that night, Neca sat beside Oma, holding her hand. She had dressed her in a clean white gown, woven with soft blue beads. She gently brushed her hair while humming softly. You should sleep, Oma said with a tiny smile. I don't want to, Neca replied. What if I wake up and you're gone? Oma looked at her lovingly. Then look at the stars. I'll be there. Tochi entered with a small bowl of water. I made your favorite, warm pap, Oma chuckled. I don't think I can finish it. You must try, Tochi said, forcing a smile. Oma took a few sips, then leaned back. I've never known love like this, she said. Not even in the palace under the river. You made me feel like I belonged, like I was truly a daughter. Tears spilled from Neca's eyes. You are our daughter, Oma, in every way. Oma squeezed her hand. Then promise me, when I'm gone, you will live. You will laugh again. You will love yourself. And when your baby comes, name her after me. Neca nodded through her tears. I promise. The clock ticked softly. The night deepened. The stars outside twinkled brighter than ever. Oma turned her eyes toward the window one last time. I hear the song of the river again, she whispered. It's calling me home. Neca hugged her close, sobbing. Don't go, please. Not yet. Oma smiled faintly, her last words soft as air. Thank you for loving me. Then her eyes slowly closed. The pendant on her chest flashed once, then dimmed completely, and just like that, she was gone. The room fell silent. Neca cried until her voice broke. Tochi held her tightly, his own face streaked with tears. Outside, a soft wind blew through the trees. The stars sparkled. The moon seemed to pause in its journey across the sky, as if paying respect to the girl who gave everything. They buried Oma the next morning near the riverbank, the very spot where she first arrived. The whole village attended. Flowers were scattered, prayers were said, and the sound of weeping and singing blended into something sacred. On her tombstone, Tochi carved, Oma, the girl from the river, who loved too deeply to stay. And as the sun rose high above the land of Umunoachi, a small butterfly with glowing blue wings fluttered over her grave, dancing in the light. Neca watched it from afar and whispered, "You'll always be our light." 3 months had passed since Oma's burial. 3 months since the little girl from the river gave her life to lift a curse, mend a broken family, and restore peace to an entire village. Yet in Umunoachi, it still felt like yesterday. Every time the wind blew gently through the trees, the villagers would say, "Oma is near." Every time a butterfly danced through the market, children would point and whisper, "That's her." Though she was gone, her presence lingered like soft perfume, unseen, but unforgettable. In Tochi's house, the atmosphere had changed completely. The air was lighter, the silence no longer heavy. Laughter had returned, peace had returned, and for Neca, healing had begun. One sunny afternoon, she stood by the flower bed in their compound, gently watering the plants. She now wore a light wrapper around her waist and a simple blouse. Her skin glowed again, her eyes looked rested, and her lips carried the beginnings of a smile that hadn't been seen in over a year. As she moved toward the hibiscus bush Oma used to admire, she felt a strange flutter in her stomach. She paused, pressing her hand gently over her abdomen. There it was again. A flutter, soft, rhythmic, like the wings of a tiny bird. Neca stood still, her eyes wide. Could it be? She rushed into the house, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. Tochi was seated in the sitting room, sorting through a bag of maize. "Tochi," she said breathlessly. He looked up quickly. "What is it? What happened?" She didn't speak. Instead, she took his hand and slowly placed it on her stomach. "Do you feel that?" He waited, and then he felt it. A slight movement, a soft thump, another. Tochi's eyes filled with tears. "Neca," he whispered. "You're..." She nodded, her voice breaking. I think I'm pregnant." He let out a joyful shout and pulled her into his arms. "Thank you, God. Thank you, Oma." Their laughter and tears mixed into one glorious moment. The miracle they had waited so long for was finally here. Later that evening, after the news had settled in their hearts, they both sat outside under the mango tree. The breeze was gentle, the sun set golden. "Tochi," Neca said, resting her head on his shoulder, "do you think she knew?" "She always knew," he replied. "That's why she told you to name the baby after her." "I want to do more than that," Neca whispered. "I want this child to grow up knowing who Oma was, not just as a name, but as a light, a story, a legacy." Tochi held her hand. "We'll tell our child everything, about how a little girl with ocean eyes changed our lives forever." As the weeks passed, the news spread like wildfire. "Neca is pregnant," it was said with joy this time, not gossip. Women brought yams, wrappers, and fruits to her doorstep. Elders offered prayers. Even children sang songs outside her gate. And one person who visited almost every day was Chinaza, Chisum's wife. She had become one of Neca's closest friends after the incident, and her presence always brought peace. Can you believe it? She said one morning, placing her palm gently on Neca's belly. A living miracle inside you? Neca smiled. I still feel like I'm dreaming. You deserve this joy, Chinaza replied. You suffered more than anyone knew. And you? Neca asked kindly. How is your home now? Chinaza sighed. Better. Chisum has changed. He prays every morning. He no longer speaks to shadows. He works in the farm again and even built a small pen for goats. It's not much, but it's a beginning. I'm happy for you, Neca said sincerely. Chinaza touched her arm. And I'm proud of you. One evening, as the moonlight bathed the compound in silver glow, Neca sat alone by Oma's grave near the riverbank. She now came there every week, just to talk, just to reflect. She knelt on the soft earth and laid fresh flowers by the headstone. Hello, my angel, she whispered. Guess what? I feel you inside me, not just in my heart, but in my womb. You're coming back to me somehow. Maybe not the same way, but I know you're near. The wind picked up slightly, rustling the leaves of the trees above. I'll raise her to be brave like you, Neca continued. To be kind, to be wise, to give, not because she has much, but because her heart is full. She paused, then smiled. Tochi said we should build a library and name it after you. He says your story must be remembered forever. Just then, a butterfly with shimmering blue wings landed softly on her shoulder. Neca didn't move. She simply smiled wider. Thank you for coming, she said. The butterfly fluttered into the night sky, and Neca watched it until it disappeared among the stars. Months flew by. Neca's belly grew round and full. The day she went into labor, the entire compound was filled with women, elderly midwives, aunties, neighbors. Prayers filled the air. Water boiled. Mats were spread. Tochi paced the corridor like a nervous boy, stopping only when he heard the first cry pierce through the air. A cry full of life. A cry full of light. It's a girl, one of the women announced. Tochi burst into tears and ran into the room. There she was, tiny, beautiful, with soft black curls and the brightest eyes he had ever seen. Neca, though weak, was smiling from ear to ear. Meet Oma. Tochi bent down and kissed them both. She looks just like her, he whispered. And from that day forward, little Oma became the jewel of Umunoachi. People came from neighboring villages to see her, to hear her name, to learn about the girl from the river who gave up everything so another child could live. Oma's name became a story, and that story became a legend. Years passed. The village of Umunoachi remained the same in many ways. The red soil, the swaying palm trees, the songs of roosters at dawn. But something had changed permanently in the hearts of its people. They had once whispered about Neca the chicken thief. Now, they spoke about Oma the miracle, the little girl born after the storm, bright-eyed, curious, and full of joy, was the very image of the water princess who had come and gone like a whispered prayer. And though she would never meet her namesake in this world, Oma grew up surrounded by stories of the girl who saved a village. On her first birthday, the entire village gathered again, just as they had for the burial of the first Oma. But this time, they came with joy, dancing and clapping as the little girl crawled around the compound, wearing a blue and white gown hand-sewn by her mother. She carries the light of two souls, one elder said. She is blessed, said another. Nothing evil can touch this one. Neca stood by, holding Tochi's hand, her heart filled with gratitude. Every time she looked into her daughter's eyes, she felt the same comfort she once felt in the presence of the river girl. It was as if part of the first Oma had returned through her smile, her giggles, her fierce sense of curiosity. One afternoon, when the child turned 5, Neca sat her down under the mango tree and began to tell her the full story. There was once a little girl, Neca began, brushing her daughter's hair gently, who came from under the river. She wasn't an ordinary girl. She was a princess with a heart full of love. Little Oma listened closely, her big eyes wide with wonder. She saw a woman crying by the river. Neca continued, her voice steady but emotional. That woman had been cursed and forgotten, but the river girl didn't ignore her. She gave up everything, her crown, her family, her home beneath the water, just to help that one woman. Why did she help her? Oma asked. Because she believed in love, Neca answered. She believed in doing good, even when it was difficult, even when it hurt. Oma blinked. Was that woman you, Mummy? Neca smiled gently. Yes, my baby. That girl saved me. And she saved you too. Oma tilted her head. How did she save me? Neca leaned closer. Because if she hadn't broken the curse, you wouldn't be here. The little girl reached up and touched her mother's cheek. Then I love her. Neca held her tight. So do I. As the years went by, Neca and Tochi kept the memory of the first Oma alive. At the edge of their compound, close to the riverbank where the magical girl had first appeared, they built a small white stone library surrounded by flowers and named it Oma's Place. Inside, they kept books and scrolls, not just for learning letters, but also for preserving stories. Stories about courage, kindness, sacrifice, and hope. Children from nearby villages would come to read. Some came barefoot, others came with their parents. But every child that stepped into the library would first look at the framed portrait by the entrance. A drawing of the first Oma, eyes glowing like crystal, hair flowing down her back, pendant shining around her neck. Beneath the portrait were these words, "She came from the river, but she lives in our hearts forever." And so the legend grew. It became a tale told to every child as they grew. Mothers used it to teach their daughters kindness. Fathers told it to remind their sons that true strength lies in sacrifice. Elders told it to show that help can come from the most unexpected places. One dry season, a traveling storyteller named Papa EBUBE visited UCHE. He had heard of the tale, but wanted to see the riverbank himself. When he saw the grave of the first Oma, surrounded by white lilies and butterflies, he sat and wept. That night, he told the story in the village square, under the moon, to a crowd of hundreds. There was once a girl, he began, who traded eternity to heal a broken woman. A girl who asked for nothing in return. A girl who became the bridge between the world above and the one below. People cried. Some prayed. Others simply sat in awe. And in that moment, the story left UCHE and traveled beyond. One quiet evening, years later, Neca and Tochi sat on the veranda with their daughter, now a teenager. Oma had grown into a graceful, strong young girl. She was intelligent, humble, and loved by all. She had inherited her mother's smile and her father's calm spirit. But more than anything, she had inherited the heart of the girl she was named after. "Mama," she said, turning to Neca, "do you think the real Oma knows how much we love her?" Neca looked at her daughter, her heart full. "I believe she does. Every time the wind blows gently across this land, that's her. When you feel peace for no reason, that's her. And when you choose to do good, even when it's hard, she's smiling." Oma smiled and leaned on her mother's shoulder. "Then I want to be like her." "You already are," Tochi said, placing his hand over hers. And as they sat together, watching the river shimmer in the fading sunlight, a butterfly with shimmering blue wings fluttered gently through the yard. It circled the family once. Then it vanished into the sky, and they all smiled, because they knew. Oma had never truly left. She had simply gone home. Lesson from this story. The story teaches us that true kindness, selfless sacrifice, and unconditional love have the power to heal even the deepest wounds, while forgiveness can break the strongest chains of bitterness. It reminds us that no matter how broken or ashamed we may feel, redemption is always possible when we are surrounded by love and light. That help can come from the most unexpected places, and that when we choose to live with courage, compassion, and truth, we not only change our own lives, but leave behind a lasting legacy that will inspire generations to come. Thank you so much for watching. Your love and support mean everything to me. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones to spread the inspiration. I'd also love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more interesting African stories. See you in the next video. Bye!